Good morning, and as I look up, the sun is just starting to break through the cloudy sky out here. There's a bit of a glimmer of sunshine, so obviously to welcome us into the week. So good morning, my name is Helen Jennings. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and I try and come in to you at 8 o'clock. I know it's a little after 8, it's 5 past now on a Monday morning. And we do a little bit of crafting. But today is a special day in our household. It is my youngest's birthday. So obviously I had to be up nice and early to give him a hug and ruffle his hair and tell him he's still mummy's baby. And, you know, all those things that we have to do to embarrass our children as they grow into adults. But he's off to work now, so he's gone off to work. Mike's gone off to work, so we're back to just me and the dog and all of you who are going to join me this morning. So the other mad thing, of course, I've got going on this week is Wednesday morning I fly out to Germany for the Stampin' Up on Stage, their biannual convention. And we have some smaller local conventions, and then we have the big ones, and we take it in turns around the world who hosts the big one, and this time it's the turn of Europe, so it is the big one that I'm going to, hence I'm flying out to Germany on Wednesday morning. I go to a dinner for leaders on Wednesday evening, and then our onstage experience starts at lunchtime on Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday. So lots of lovely goodies that I'm going to be seeing, and hopefully be sending you some sneaky peeks back as well. So that's all happening this week, so still lots to get ticked off my to-do list before I get on that plane on Wednesday. So I'm just hoping there'll be some time to go to bed between now and then. I'm sure we'll manage it just about, but I'm going to come in and have a little bit of a play with you this morning with it won't necessarily be the project of the week, because I'm not going to do a video. My first thought was I'm going to record a video to put out on Thursday, and then I thought no, I'll just do a one-off video today using this product, and then what I will do over sort of Thursday, Friday, whatever, I will try and come into you and do a few lives and things, and just generally sharing posts of all the new things that I'm seeing and any exciting news from Germany. So I shall be able to do that, even if it's only a catch up on 1 or 2 evenings from my hotel, because I understand that I've got Wi-Fi, so we will see if that works. But that's certainly my plan, is to be able to share some bits with you from Germany rather than something from my desk that I've pre-recorded. So this is our only crafty session as such today, this week, but as I say, I will come in and see you later in the week. So our product of the day, so the thing that I'm going to be looking at today is actually this Itty Bitty Christmas bundle. Now this is one of those bundles that sort of doesn't jump off the page as being super exciting, but it's really useful. And it's a bundle made up of a stamp set and a die set, and both of the stamp set and the die sets are those sorts of things that just sit quietly in the background but give your projects that little bit of a zip. Now I am going to have to give you a bit of a disclaimer right from the outset, because I would be scheduled to do a class on Wednesday at Love-a-Duckie. So what is happening, and what has happened in the past, is that I have designed the class. There are going to be full written instructions, and I have sent a representative. So my daughter Charlotte, who always is with me anyway at Love-a-Duckie, is going to take along the box with all the goodies in, including cake. So there's going to be nothing, you know, none of the important factors missing. The only thing that's going to be missing is me, and I am sending my love to them anyway, as I say, and I've already done all the projects, and I'll have written up all the instructions, and there'll be laminated instructions, and some really pretty projects and things a little bit different. So that is on Wednesday, but one of the things that has gone into that box, because that box has already gone off We had one of those lovely family occasions. We had a baby shower yesterday afternoon, so my nephew's girlfriend's family had organised a baby shower, so we all went off to the baby shower as girls yesterday afternoon, and so Charlotte took the box of goodies with her ready for the class on Wednesday, and one of the things that's in it is this stamp set. But I do have a stamp set here that is a new one that I'm not going to be using to stamp, but that I can show you. So I can show you the stamp set, I can show you the dies, and then we'll have a go at making one of these projects from the catalogue. So as I say, these are really useful workhorse stamps and die sets. So Morning Div and Morning Sarah, the Itty Bitty Christmas. This is one of those stamp sets that is just so useful. You've got tos and froms that you can be using on labels. You could also use No Peeking Till Christmas on labels. Have a sugar sprinkled season if you wanted to send somebody a cookie. But you've got things like From Our House to Your House, lots of love at Christmas, season's greetings, happy holidays, Christmas cheer, happy Christmas, lots and lots of Christmas greetings, and they're not huge big Christmas greetings. Obviously this one has not been started, but they're just sort of small little Christmas greetings. But whatever your card, if you need a greeting, there's probably one in there that you can use. So a really, really useful stamp set. And we do have some Christmassy stamp sets in the catalogue that don't have sentiments with them. So, you know, this really comes into its own there. Or if the sentiment that's on a card isn't to your liking, there's normally one you can swap out. So a really useful basic tool in your kit in the form of a sentiment stamp. And we do lots of itty bitties. There's itty bitty birthdays and itty bitty greetings, I think, are the other two, and they're all really useful. So that's the Itty Bitty Christmas greetings. So let me pop that one to one side. The other thing is the Christmas layers dies, and again, you know, there's not a specific shape to cut out. It doesn't coordinate with anything in the stamp set, but it just is these sort of background dies. This one is sort of quite a geometrical, almost flowery die. This one is snowflakes, lots and lots of snowflakes. This one is like a greenery, sort of mistletoe sort of effect. And then you've got these little dies. So you've got this little snowflake, a bigger snowflake, this bigger sort of flowery image, and then this little single mistletoe that you could put a couple together to make a little corner piece or something, or on a tag or whatever. So again, really, really useful dies, but not something that would necessarily leap out of the page at you as you were first flicking through the catalogue. It's one of those things that you think, oh, what's that they've tucked in the back there that just makes that pop? Well, it would probably be that card, that something like that die just there that does exactly that job. And I'm just wondering what I did with the cards that we had on the county tour last month, because we did have a really pretty card that we used some of these things for on that one, and that was just, it was a very I want to say plain, it was white and silver, and actually I think white and silver is very classy, not plain at all. It's very sort of classic and classy look. What I'll have to do is when I've unearthed it, because I've got so many piles of things to do and things to be put away and things to be sorted, when I do unearth it, I will perhaps post a picture of that one as well, and perhaps pop it up in a blog post along with the card that we're making this morning. So yeah, these really useful little workhorse stamps and dies. The Itty Bitty Christmas stamps, the Christmas layer dies, which together form the Itty Bitty Christmas bundle. If you want both of them together, if you want all of that workhorse, all of those little tools in your arsenal. So they are really useful. The other thing I'm going to be using quite a bit this morning, so I thought I would get out the catalogue, and we'll go through some of the samples in a minute, but I thought I'd get out the catalogue and show you. The other thing I've got is my Take Your Pick tool. Now your Take Your Pick tool comes, what have I done? Yes, it's that end. So it comes like this. and on one end you have a pokey tool, or you can twist that and take that out, and you can actually put in, and I think I've got it here somewhere, yes, you can actually put in this embossing tool. So you've got a double-ended embossing tool, so you can just pop that in. So you can swap your pokey tool end for an embossing tool end. So this is double embossing end. This has got a pokey tool on one end and like a palette knife sort of lifter upper type thing on the other end. So twin tools, whichever end you have in. I'm going to put it so that my pokey tool's back in there for now. And then when it comes, the other end is like this sticky pickup bit. So it's got like a almost like a blue tacky, so like a tacky end on there that you can pick things up with. So there we are. Here's a snowflake I cut earlier. You can use your picky up end to pick up sequins and gems and little pieces of die cut things. Hi Marilyn, lovely to have you join us from Queensland. So your picky sticky bit is the bit that you use to pick up bits. So you've got your picky up end, you've got your pokey tool, your sort of palette knife bit, and your double embossing tool. So that's how your take a pick tool comes. You can also get refills for the putty, so the take your pick sticky putty, because all you do is once that bit has got a bit dry or sort of worn down, you just twist that and a little bit more comes out. Once that's all come out, you can actually buy refills, so you can get a refill for your putty end. So that's your take a pick tool as it comes. And then in the catalogue when it launched this year, they introduced the brush, so the die brush tip. And that comes with 2 of these foam mats and this little brush. And all you do, and I'm going to do this because I'm going to put the brush in, is you take out your putty end, just screws out, put that safely to one side, screw in your little brush. Now obviously if you're just doing one odd thing, you might not even want to bother screwing it in, you might just pick it up. But if you're doing a few things, you want your brush. And hi Megan! So you've got your brush and you've got your foam mat, and I will be using those in a little bit because we're going to do some of those die cuts, and some of them do have little bits that need poking or brushing out. So it comes into its own when you've got fancy dies. So we will use that in a bit. So it's in page 189 of your catalogue. You'll take your pick tool and then the die brush tip end. So it all comes in one little tool with all these little attachments that you can pop in and out. Really useful, so we're going to be using that quite a bit. Let's have a quick look at the samples for this bundle, this itty bitty bundle set in the catalogue. So down here we have got this little sample just here. Hi Glenda! And you can see that they've actually cut that sort of foliage type die out of that piece of Whisper White, and then they've added it in just here as a sort of element. So it's sort of, you've got your die cut pieces, you've got almost like that stencil effect, which looks really pretty, but then they've also used the bits that they've cut out of it to add some a bit more dimension. And then here we've got this lovely little bag just here that's got some of these flower bits behind the tag and the greetings on that tag just there. We've got this card here, and this is the one we're going to have a go at in a minute, with little snowflakes on the top, water washed background. This is an intriguing one, nearly went for this one. This one they've sort of die cut this almost floral image, and then can you see they've used it as a stencil to create this background pattern, and then laid it on the top with one of these foliage bits, and then this pretty one here, again that foliage with just some stripy paper and a greeting on one of those tags. Really simple. When you do look at that closely, if you look in your catalogue, you can see that they've added some of the metallic ink on the end of some of these leaves and things, just to give it a bit more interest and dimension. So lots that you can do with it, but as I say, really, really useful. But we're going to have a go at this one just here. So I have already done some die cutting, just to so you haven't got to watch me die cutting lots of things, but I haven't done it all. I have some of the metallic ink. I've got the silver one and the copper one. I know these are getting a little bit difficult to get hold of, and actually the instructions do call for the ink refills, and we can now not get the ink refills in Europe. So I'm going to change up what I do with that a little bit and offer in some other suggestions of things you could do instead. We've got a Whisper White card base. We've got a piece of shimmery white cardstock to sit on the top, and I've cut that 1 centimetre short at each end, so it's got a bit of a wider border. And then obviously my Itty Bitty Christmas stamp set is now sitting waiting for a class on Wednesday. So it's not even in the house. So rather than using the Season's Greetings from the Itty Bitty Christmas, which I otherwise would have done because it's a really nice font and a really nice stamp, I'm actually going to dig out one from last year, and we'll have Season's Greetings again, but we'll have Season's Greetings from our home to yours, and this is the Merry Christmas to All stamp set. So this was the sentiment stamp set from last year, but it is still current. You still can get it in your annual catalogue along with the dies that go with it. And those, of course, are sentiment dies as opposed to swirly whirly pattern dies. All very useful. Right, okay. Let me get a little block for that stamp. And it's less likely to disappear into nowhere on my surface. Let's just pop these to one side for a minute. Pop that to one side for a minute, because we're going to start by doing a watercolour wash with some Pool Party ink on this background. So I could have got a Pool Party ink refill out and just put a little spot of ink in a paint palette and picked up the ink from that, but actually I'm going to use my ink pad. I've squeezed my pad get some ink out. So now I'm going to lay down a layer of water, because that just helps your ink to move around when you add it in. And then we will paint on some of this Pool Party ink, and we want it to be fairly sort of randomish in the background. We're not looking for a precise edge or anything, so let's just lay that down. Okay, and I will just put that to one side for a minute and let that dry off. So we've just got, I don't know how well that's picking up, we've just got a faint water colour wash going on in the back of that card. If I need to dry it with a heat gun in a minute, I will do, but I'll let it dry for it by itself for now and come back to it in a minute. So what else do we need? We need some of these little die cuts. Now, as I say, I've already cut a couple of the snowflakes, and they are just so pretty, so delicate. And I will cut one for you. That was shimmery white I used there, Megan. Yeah, I tend to use a lot of shimmery white actually, so it sort of is between the two. So it's not normal Whisper White, it is shimmery white cardstock, that one. And the nice thing about shimmery white cardstock is that when it's dry, it does also, you do get that shimmer on it as well. You do get that added sparkle. So I use a lot of shimmery white. So this is just ordinary Whisper White that I've cut these snowflakes out from, and I've also cut some of the smaller snowflakes from some Pretty Peacock. So I've got some of the slightly bigger, smaller snowflakes and some of the teeny tiny snowflakes. So those are all waiting to go onto our project. Let's just pop them back to one side, and we will just cut another of the snowflakes out of white, because I think we might want a third one, and just really just to prove that these dies really do cut beautifully. Watch this one not now, but I have no reason to doubt that this die is going to cut beautifully. I always say to people, you have to bear in mind that with dies like this, they are so delicate. Don't knock your tea over, Helen. They are so delicate and so intricate. I can't even begin to imagine trying to cut those by hand. I know some people do, but I cannot imagine sitting down with a craft knife and a piece of paper and trying to cut these by hand. So if I have to run it backwards and forwards through my machine a few times in order to get this intricate die to cut properly, I am quite willing to do that, because it is still lots easier than trying to cut this by hand. So I've just got my ordinary base plate on there, and I would, almost as a matter of course, run this through twice. Let's bring it back, because we've taken it back through where it needs to be. Now then, hopefully we're going to be able to pick this up and spin it round, and at this point you can look at it and judge whether you think that has cut, and actually that looks as if that has cut beautifully. It's sort of, you've almost got the blade showing through. There isn't any bits that look as if they've not quite cut. So I'm quite happy now to pop this out. Now again, this is a really delicate die, and so you might find that some of the bits sort of hang on to each other as you go to pop it out of the card, and you just have to very gently ease it and wiggle it to get them to untangle from each other. So do take it gently, because otherwise you'll rip your beautiful snowflakes. So it's all gently take it nice and smoothly. Right, I'm going to turn this over onto my lovely sponge mat, and then I'm going to take my brush end, and I'm just going to give this a bit of a brush, and you can see the holes appearing. So now that die is almost clean. There's just one bit to spare. So now we've got no card left in our die, because you always want to make sure that your dies are clean and that there's no card left in them. If you've got bits of card left in your die, when you go to run it through with another piece of card, there's nowhere for the card to go, so you won't get a clean cut with it. So here we have, if we've got any little bits in there that are still landlocked, stuck in, I don't think we have. Look, beautiful, it's just all come out, and that was just rolling it backwards and forwards once. The other really nice thing about these mats is that, with the exception of that little bit there, all those little bits have stayed on my mat, and they don't roll around because it is spongy. They won't easily come off until I take them to the bin and knock them off. There we go, good to go again. So they are really useful, these little brushes and tools. So now we have our pool party card that appears to be drying quite nicely. It's not bone dry yet, but it's certainly getting there. Now, from the instructions, and as I've said before, I just get a sort of like a shopping list. This is what we've used, and there might be one or two very simple instructions, like sort of, you know, split your stamp, or, you know, something like that. But you only get very basic instructions. It is down to you to guess what they've done. But one of the things that they have in this particular sample. Sorry, morning, Carol. I was, my brain, I was just reading messages. See, if I read messages, then brain goes. It can't go two ways at once. So, one of the things it says is about using the metallic ink refills, and it looks like they've used a splattery technique, and they've just splattered some of the ink on the background in this card. Now, as I said, here in Europe, due to some of the problems that we're having with customs at the moment, not any fault of Stampin' Up's, or it's just the way the cookie crumbles. There's been new regulations, and it's proving to be quite difficult to get things past these new regulations. But that has meant that we've not been able to get things like the refills, and now in fact in Europe they have been withdrawn, so we cannot get the refills for these metallic inks. The ink pads are sort of, while we can still get them, once they're gone, they're gone. But we still have them at the moment, so we will use some of our ink pads. So rather than using the ink and splattering it, I could have tapped this on a block and perhaps added some water and splattered it that way. That's one thing I could have done. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the embossed end of this take a pick tool, and the suggestion is that you use the copper and the silver ink refill. I'm going to use the copper and the ink pads. I'm going to dab my embossing tool end in there, and I'm just going to add some random spots of copper ink. So rather than splattering it, they'll be a little bit more uniform than you'd get if you were splattering. I'm just going to put some copper spots in the background, and if I give that tool a bit of a rub on my Simply Chamois, I'm going to do exactly the same with the silver ink. Now, something else you could do if you have any of your shimmer paints from last year, so you could, particularly if you've got sort of the copper and the gold shimmer paints and things that we had last year, or even the rose gold one that's currently on the clearance rack with that medley suite, you could use those to splatter in the background, and in fact you can dot like this with those as well. To there, so in the background there now we have some little spots of copper and silver. Not quite as random as splattering it with your ink refill, but it does give just a little bit of a sort of metallic element to that background just there. Hi Angie. So I'm going to leave that to carry on drying just a minute, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment. So all I've got here is a piece of pool party card from my oddments. And as I say, we're going to use this greeting from the Merry Christmas to all. All things being equal, it would have been the season's greetings from the Itty Bitty stamp set, but it's not to hand. It's on travels, ready for that class on Wednesday. So if you do normally come to my class at Long Buckby, do come along, do go and support Charlotte. She's done that for me before, because obviously on stage always falls this time of the year, and it quite often clashes with that Long Buckby class. So we've done various things in the past. I've left challenges and all sorts of things, but we always try and make sure that it carries on going. As I say, she's got a full class there with all the bits and pieces, so do go and support her. And she has cake on standby, ready to feed you. I'm going to snip those ends slightly. That is looking a little bit wonky on that bottom. Let's try. These aren't my snips, these are my slightly longer scissors, just because if you're doing a long straight line, sometimes longer scissors are easier. But when it comes to doing these banner ends, I am going to come in with my snips, because then I want the more precision blades, the sort of the little blades. So to make a banner end, cut up the middle as far as you want it to go, and then cut in from each side. And there we are, we've got season's greetings from our house to yours, or from our home to yours. Now the other thing they've added into this particular stamp set is some of this gathered ribbon. I couldn't think what they called it. So it is this sort of Rococo Rose gathered ribbon that sort of has this almost, it's sort of petal pink and Rococo Rose mixture. It has almost like a metallic element to it, where it catches the light. So we're going to have a little bit of that ribbon as well. We're going to cut this one at an angle. We'll have it about like that, and cut this one at an angle, and that's going to sit across the back there with our greeting on top, and then we just need to put in our little snowflakes. Right, so let's find some Tombow glue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a silicone mat. I'm going to swap my Tombow. I'm going to get a silicone mat just here, ready to put some Tombow on. I am just going to give this a little bit of a blast with the heat going, just because it is a little bit damp and it might make it a bit difficult to stick that glue down. So excuse me while I just give that a bit of a blast, just to dry it off a little bit. Obviously when you dry it, it does curl a little bit. Turn it over, dry it from the other side, that helps to straighten it. Right, that's going to be a little bit more amenable to having things stuck to it now, I think. So there we have our background, our pool party watercolour wash background with those dots of copper and silver ink using our embossing tool. Now I'm just going to put a wiggle of Tombow onto my silicone mat, because these are some really delicate little die cuts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dibble those in the glue. To get a layer of glue on the back without necessarily having glue everywhere. So let's have one lot of snowflakes coming down here. Might not need the 3. Just done a third one in case I need any odd elements. Let's do the same with this. Let's just dabble it in that glue, just to pick up the glue on the back of it. The other thing you can do is you can put some Tombow on it, pick some up with a sponge. Now where these are overlapping, that's okay, because that's where our greeting is going to go. Now what I might do is might just snip a couple of these off. If I go this one, and then follow that round in a circle just there, just so that I've got those 3 little snowflakes. That's another thing you can do. You don't have to use the whole kit and caboodle. You can and just going to have a couple, and again we'll have our greeting going across here, so we won't see where that is overlapped just there in the middle. We can not worry about that bit, but that gives us another little snowflake just popping up there. So I think at this point we will then stick on our ribbon. We might come back to that in a moment. The really nice thing about this is once this is dried, you can just rub that glue off then off this silicone mat, ready to start again. That's a really useful little tip for putting glue on the back of sort of intricate dies and things, because it can be quite fiddly. Right, let's pick up a glue dot on the back of that end of the ribbon. Let's pick up a glue dot in the middle of that ribbon, and let's pick up a glue dot on the other end of that ribbon, and then hopefully we can lay it down across our overlapped snowflakes just there. I'll take some mini dimensionals, put a little row of those on the back of this sentiment. We'll add that over there, and that covers up any final bits of those overlapped snowflakes. Now you can't see any of the overlapping, you just got the snowflake sort of running down the back of the card. And then we've got some of these little pretty peacock ones. So let's bring back in our silicone mat. Let's add a little bit more Tombow. Don't need a lot really. And we'll just put in some of these little snowflakes, just because they then pop out of the background. Morning, Beryl. When I first started, I commented on how the sun had just peeked out through the clouds. We've now got rain. So we've had sun, we've had rain, and we're playing with snow. We've had all weathers here this morning. I have been, for those girls, those of you that are in Australia, I was watching the news reports yesterday about some of those horrendous fires that you've got, and the fire that's threatening Sydney. Very scary. We have floods here in parts of the UK, some quite serious flooding. You've got fire. It's almost like we need to, if only we could send some of our water your way. Right, so there we are. We've just put in a few of those little pretty peacock snowflakes in the background. Morning, Marilyn. To help make that pop. And it's funny, isn't it? Although we just sort of come together in these Facebook lives, you did all come to mind. It was like, oh, I hope that none of my Australian ladies are affected by that. So we are thinking of you. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to stick this. That's showing my local accent, isn't it? The local accent here, one of the things that people say is about ain't, shan't and ain't a gonna. But on this case, it's not that I ain't a gonna, I am a gonna. I'm gonna stick that down on the back there. You don't hear accents yourself, do you, very often? You don't hear your own accents only when you hear yourself speaking back. But that would have really heard myself say that then. Okay, so there we have a snowy, snowy card. Yeah, they did look, the news I was watching out yesterday did look really awful. But even just having smoke in the air all the time, I mean, that must not be nice in terms of breathing and things, but it must also mean you're getting sort of ash and dust and all of those sorts of things. Just really not nice, really frightening and scary. But yeah, you're in our thoughts. But there's our little snowflake card. So although we weren't able to use our greeting, as I say, this is an Itty Bitty Greetings I've got sitting here, but it's a brand new one, it's not to be used. So we could have used this season's greetings here out of the Itty Bitty Christmas stamp set. It's really, really useful Itty Bitty Christmas stamp set. But we used instead the one out of last year's stamp set that's carried over, which is this Merry Christmas to All. Another really useful stamp set with lots of Christmas greetings in. And then we've used these really lovely dies to create our little card. So there we are. You could add in little extra bits of sparkle, so although you'll get a bit of sparkle off your card when it hits the light, the sun shines, which it's not at the moment, you will get a bit of sparkle off your background of your card. You could also add in a few little rhinestones if you wanted to add in a bit more sparkle, as I said, or instead of using the metallic ink in the background, you could sprinkle on some shimmer paint, and that would give you a sparkle as well. Or you could even, what would have been really nice would be, see, going backwards now, if we'd have, when we die cut those snowflakes, if we'd have spritzed them with a shimmer paint and rubbing alcohol mix, we could have made those sparkle, couldn't we? That would be very pretty, wouldn't it? Yeah, you could shimmer up your snowflakes. You could always take a wink of Stella and add a bit of shimmery stuff to some of your snowflakes with your wink of Stella as well. So always ways to add a bit more glitz and glamour to our projects. So thank you for coming and playing this morning. As I've said, I won't be doing a live on Thursday. I might do a live on Thursday, but it won't be live from the lily pad. It won't be from my craft room here, because I will be in Germany on stage. So I will try and come in at some points while I'm away and share just some of the loveliness that we're seeing, any sort of sneaky peeks that we can show you from on stage. And these days we can show you most things. I won't be able to show you the insides of any catalogues, but I will be able to show you covers of the Spring Summer catalogue. I will be able to show you covers of the Celebration catalogue. I will be able to share with you any photos and things that I take of projects on boards and all of those sorts of things. So any goodies that I've got that I've been given to bring home, I can share those with you. So there hopefully will be some nice shares to have. So do look out during the course of the week, as I say, and I will share what I can with you of my timer on stage over the next few days. I am off now to finish my cup of tea, to have some breakfast, and to consolidate my to-do list so that I know absolutely what it is that I need to do before I get on that plane. Leave here to get on that plane at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning. So take care, everybody. Have a good week. I will catch up with you when I can, but I'll definitely be back, she says, definitely be back here on Monday morning. I may be a very weary come next Monday morning, but it's my plan at this stage to be back here next Monday morning live from my craft room. So have a really good week, everybody.